Attending with us tonight are our town engineer Dennis Quintel, to my left, your right, Steve Hadfield, planning board member Rob Gisolo, planning board member Peter Coffin. I'm Lynn Merrill, I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Chris Bashaw, who is the Board of Selectmen representative, Peter Bakey, board member, Robin Duguay, who is our vice chair, and Glenn Greenwood, our town planner. We have a full board tonight. I'd like to start with some continuations. The first one is that 186 Main Street in Kingston has requested a continuation to the meeting on August 15th because of some negotiations that they're having. Do we have any motion to that effect?
Yeah, I'll move that we continue the 186 Main Street hearing until 6:45 p.m. on August, what's the date, 10th? 15th?
15th.
15th. Thank you, for plans. And yeah, the plans do, sorry, I didn't bring my calendar.
I got it.
Thank you.
Plans due in by August 3rd.
By August 3rd at planning office.
What was that last part?
The
Plans due by
August 3rd at noon at the planning office.
They've submitted all their revised plans.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that would be unanimous.
And I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Robin.
Robin.
Thank you, Robin.
The second continuation we have is the Summit Distributing, LLC, Kingston Crossing, Inc. They are requesting a continuation because they need to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals first, and they did not make this month's meeting, so they'll be on the agenda there next month, so they would like a continuation to August 15th. Motion made by Chris Bashaw, second by...
Second.
Robin spoke up faster than Steve could get his finger up. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that too is unanimous. The fourth hearing for the evening, Unitil Energy Systems, has been postponed to August 15th, so there will only be one hearing this evening. One other piece of business, Phil's not here yet, right?
Right.
No.
I've not
Okay.
seen it.
So before we get to Phil, do we have a motion to accept the minutes of the public sidewalk on June 17th for Unitil Systems at 24 Toll Road?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Peter Coffin, second by Robin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
And the minutes are approved. We also have the minutes of the June 20th meeting. We have a motion to accept those. That was a public hearing night.
Sorry. Yes, I will move that we accept the June 20th minutes as presented.
Okay.
By Robin.
Motion by
Second
Peter
that
Coffin,
as well.
second by Robin.
Keep it.
Any further discussion? Any errors or omissions? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
And that is another piece of business out of the way. Okay.
Pick up, since nobody's been out here yet, RBC.
Sure. So, the rest of my notes from Robin, hold on a minute. Okay, while we're waiting for Phil Coons to come, we also have 2 vacancies coming up on the Rockingham Planning Commission. They expire this month. Peter Coffin and Glenn Greenwood, Glenn Koppelman, have been serving in that position for many years, and have expressed interest in continuing. We've also had some other people express some interest in continuing. So therefore, do we have any motions coming forward?
You say we have other people?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I would point out that Glenn Copeland is not only a commissioner, he's been on the board a long time. He's on the executive committee and various other committees. He's just, I believe, the secretary right now, past board chair, and I really think it's very important that he stay on the board. My own position, I'm willing to continue doing it, but if there's other people who expressed interest, which we haven't had in the past, I would be, it would be me that would step down. I think I strongly suggest that the board recommend Glenn Copeland as well.
Okay. And certainly, you've got your hands full lately with some of your other tasks with the town. Any discussion? Any thoughts? Any motions?
I'll move that we recommend reappointing, recommend to the Board of Selectmen that Glenn Copeland be reappointed to the Rockingham Planning Commission.
Okay, do we
Can
have
I just ask for a point of clarification before we, does he need to be a planning board member for that
No,
to happen?
no.
No.
Is it, now that he's a selectman, is there any conflict with that?
No, there's
Okay,
other
okay.
selectmen on the RPC.
Yeah, several.
I just didn't know if that was something that conflict, you know, because
Right. Oh, I understand.
that was a big
No,
transition of moving to selectman
the
now.
rules of incompatible committee membership.
Okay.
Doesn't carry over to the planning commission, regional planning commissions.
I guess my personal opinion on the voting matter. I'm thinking that maybe, as you said, you had your plate full. I would probably recommend Robin Duguay step forward if she's willing to be on the board. And I think with the board should discuss. Glenn is probably a huge asset to that and a wealth of knowledge that we can learn on. And maybe if it was a drastic change to take two people right off of it, it might just be too much of a shock to that system. So I guess would be my nomination if Robin would like to be interested. She had talked in the past of interest in being on that. I would nominate Robin. I would, if she would be willing to accept it.
Okay.
That's my thought.
So we have two motions on the floor.
We have two, yeah, sorry.
So we need to go one at a time, or we can put them both together. You could amend your motion to include Robin.
I would, you
Or we
said
can
you
do
got
them
other
separately.
people, and I think that in
Yeah.
order to find out if other people have expressed interest, so I would say that we nominate Glenn first,
Okay.
and then see who else has expressed interest, because if Robin's the only one, then that's fine, but
Is it a one-year term or two?
it's a 3-year term.
Three-year term. Okay.
And the planning board just recommends to the Board of Selectmen.
Correct.
Yeah, right, that's what I
Correct.
meant to say.
So we have a motion on the floor. We do not have a second to that motion. Do we have a
second that.
Okay. Steve Padfield has seconded. So we have a motion by Peter Coppin, a second by Steve Padfield to nominate Glenn Copeland to continue on the Rockingham Planning Commission. Is there any further discussion?
Just, do we have to make the terms is a weird language in here.
That's what I'm reading.
Because it says the terms of office members of Regional Planning Commission shall be for 4 years, but initial appointments shall be for 2 and 4 years.
Initial appointment 2, 3, and 4 years.
No,
On
what I'm
mine
looking
it
at
says 2 years.
just says, no, it says 2 and 4 years, and municipalities entitled to 3 or more
Oh, okay.
representatives shall be for 2, 3, and 4 years.
So I guess it's.
So I guess it would be if, so
4 year
if Glenn would have to be, Glenn would be the 4-year, the 4-year appointment, and then whoever the new appointment would, well, I guess, I don't know.
Maybe they mean initial appointments, meaning the first time that the planning commission is formed.
But it says it shall be for 2 and 4 years. So it shall be 2 different things.
That's what I'm saying. Looking at it, so it's 3. I'm looking at
It says the terms of office for members of a regional planning commission shall be for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then, but initial appointments shall be for 2 and
4 years.
That's the initial appointment.
Yeah, so one person would be 2, one person would be 4, so it'd be rotating every 4 years you rotate somebody off.
Okay, so when you first enter the
Right.
planning commission, if you're doing, okay,
You
so
do.
these are both 4-year appointments?
Right,
Yeah.
Okay,
okay.
just want to make sure. Okay, I have no further discussion on the board.
Yeah, you'll be doing,
I just want
bringing
to
that up.
understand it as well at that point.
I think Glenn could probably,
Yeah.
help you out when you get to the
Yeah, that's
appointment
part of it.
meeting. So,
Okay, any further discussion on the, recommendation to the Board of Selectmen for the appointment of Glenn Copeland to the Rockingham Planning Commission? We're ready for the vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Chris, would you please convey that to the Board of Selectmen?
I will.
Okay. And Peter, you were making another motion.
For Robert McGay.
Okay. Do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Steve Hadfield.
And you had said you had other people,
We do,
okay, so.
but one
how's
of
this-
those people has nominated someone
Yeah,
else,
I-
so
Oh, okay, okay.
I think we're okay.
Oh, okay, thank you, that's clarified.
I had
I
expressed
didn't want to pick
interest.
somebody else out of the pattern, but filling the two positions. and
Both
then
Robin
finding out-
and Peter had expressed interest.
Okay, okay,
We're good, okay?
thank you, that does.
Do you
make
feel
this-
more comfortable
I do,
now?
but much more comfortable, I didn't want to cut anybody off in the knees here.
Okay, so we have a motion for Robert Gay to also serve on the Rockingham Planning Commission for a term of 4 years. Do you have any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that is again unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you please convey that to
Thank
the
you,
Board of
and,
Selectmen?
Glenn will fill you in.
yeah.
He'll hold your hand. Okay, so one more piece of business out of the way. And the next piece of business has to do with 14 Hunt Road driveway. And Phil, you're here, could you come forward, please? And also the owner of the property.
Here?
Yes, would you please come forward? Mr. Vasquez, right? Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, hi.
Thank you. Welcome. Have a seat. Welcome to Kingston. I guess you moved here last year,
2 years ago,
2
yes.
years ago. Seems like just last year. Okay. Phil?
Just,
Oh.
can I get the spelling of your name?
Vazquez, Vasquez.
And your first name?
William.
Oh, and we go by William. Okay. Perfect.
So we got a driveway permit, and, we saw that there was a business taking place there, and as per our conversation, we had a memorandum of understanding. This didn't really fall into the 95% of the easy ones. I just wanted to make sure that the planning board was in the loop on this, and had a chance to meet with this gentleman. The driveway is totally fine. The second driveway he's trying to put in is totally fine, but I wanted to bring this to the board's attention, and if there's any action you wanted to take further, otherwise I can sign off on this driveway permit tomorrow, so.
Okay. So, Mr. Vasquez, are you operating a business without a permit at that site?
I don't need a permit to operate a business at my household. Or do I?
You do.
Okay, so,
Let me jump in
Go
with one
ahead.
thing. So, I think there's something that has to be addressed with the business, but if you read the driveway permit ordinance, it has nothing to do with an unpermitted business.
Right.
Whether he was operating a business there or not, or a home, the way that the driveway, they're completely separate issues. So I think the driveway permit should be issued, and then if there's action that needs to be taken on an unpermitted business, I think that's a completely separate issue. And I did speak with the Public Works Director about that, and but he said, because, you know, he conveyed, well, listen, this authority I'm granted through the planning board, and this is not one of the easy, straightforward ones, so because I'm aware of something going on, I wanted the town, the planning board to know, but my opinion is on this situation, and it's a 901, I believe. But when you read through there's nothing that ties it to a site plan or being in compliance with other things. It's just a completely separate thing. So I think it would be appropriate for the board to recommend the Public Works Director to approve the driveway permit, and then if there's actions that need to be taken on unpermitted business, they be taken up separately.
Okay. So we have no jurisdiction over the driveway permit and our,
Well, we have full jurisdiction.
Oh.
We have full jurisdiction, I just don't think there's anything
Yeah.
going on that would cause us to deny it.
okay.
I guess my only concern is that I sign off on it, and then you want him to put a parking lot in, or not, change something, and then he has to put this, rip up everything he did to put the driveway, so I just wanted to make sure before I sent him off on that.
Okay, so you are running a home business?
Yes.
Okay, so what we need to know is whether or not you meet the qualifications for running a home business. So how many people are working at the business?
I have 3 employees,
3 employees?
but they just park their car at my address. We work at separate addresses on projects. I run a plumbing and heating business.
Oh, okay.
So my employees only meet up at my address in the morning to drop off the vehicles, get in the van, and go to said address.
Okay, so you have 3 off-site employees.
Yes.
Okay.
And then in the afternoon, they show up, drop off the van, get in the vehicle, and out they go.
Okay. Do you have a sign?
No.
Okay.
Can I put a sign? Or,
You can have a sign, but there are certain sign sizes. It's very, very small
okay.
for a home business. I think it's 12 by 12, 12 inches by 12
It's
inches.
it's 2 square feet.
2 square feet.
Yeah.
No bigger than 2 square feet. And there's no display outside that indicates that the building's being used for any other businesses?
No.
Is there any equipment or process that creates noise or vibration or glare or fumes or odors or electrical interference?
No.
Okay. This says that all home occupations shall be conducted entirely within an enclosed building, but your employees are doing off-site, so that's something we should probably talk about in a minute or two. No materials or equipment associated with the home occupation are stored outside the building. So you don't have any materials stored outside?
I have pipe occasionally. I have PVC piping set next to my garage.
Okay. Okay, these are things that are prohibited, like your business does not sound like these have anything to do with your business. It says prohibited are motor vehicle and accessory sales or rental, or painting or anything like that. No medical or dental clinics, no restaurant, it's not a kennel or veterinary clinic, it's not a funeral home, it's not a private home in which more than 3 children, not including the provider's own children, are cared for regularly for any part of the day. It's not a repair shop or service establishment. They're prohibited except in repairs of electrical appliances, typewriters, typewriters.
I did have code enforcement
Okay.
look at this particular situation.
Yep.
And they said as a board, we should probably be looking at this ordinance for potential changes and discussions in the future and the upcoming. Code enforcement equated this to if people worked in an office building in another city and they all just met up and carpooled, like that's the impact. And it seems like the impact on the neighborhood that's being problematic is the parking on the street. And it sounds like he's getting the driveway permit to alleviate the people parking on the street.
Correct.
But it seems like, this is like, you own a plumbing
I
business.
don't-
It's like if you had somebody show up at your house to hop in your truck with you every day.
That's
Yeah.
it's the exact same thing. I don't understand how it constitutes a
So,
home business.
co-
There's no business
So
being
the-
conducted there.
Right,
The only question I have is about the first standard, which is that only 1 additional non-resident may also be employed. So if he's
That's on
employed,
site.
But that's on
That's on
site.
site, if they were actually like
Yeah.
building stuff in the garage and selling it out of there or something.
got it.
So,
There's no business
code
being
enforcement recommended that the board take this up as one of the items we look at in the fall for potential revision or, and input on that, but yeah, cause it seems like there's it's an odd standard to apply to certain businesses. It doesn't allow for some flexibility the way certain businesses operate.
It certainly looks like that from going through here. It looks like just about everything does not apply to the business.
Except for the external storage of materials.
Correct. So we need to talk about the external storage of the materials, and if we can come to a accommodation with that, then I would take a motion to,
Excuse me,
for no further action.
is it because it's visible?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if.
Do you have room behind your garage to put them?
So if I also put a privacy fence on my property so you can't see
Okay.
it, is that?
It's still the external storage, that's what, I think.
Yeah, but the intent, I think, was,
Yeah,
What do you
no
mean?
materials or equipment associated with the home occupation shall be stored outside of the building, so it would need to be inside of the building.
The best way would be if you can get it in the garage.
Get it in the garage or
Yep.
container?
If you were able to maintain it all within your materials within the garage, there'd be no further action by the board
Okay.
necessary, essentially.
yep,
Okay, we can make that happen.
okay, perfect. Any further discussion, questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the board recommends the Director of Public Works approve the driveway permit.
Okay, and that's a separate.
Could you
Yeah,
say that?
well, I was
more?
gonna. what's-
Sorry.
You got something?
No, I'm taking minutes.
Oh,
I couldn't
okay.
hear you.
I think we have two items to address here. I would say the first I would be is I'd like to make a motion that we ask that the Public Works Director issue the driveway permit.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And next motion?
Second, I would make a motion that the board require no further action regarding the
Occupation?
home occupation use, given that the individual stored any of the materials associated with the business indoors.
I will also second that motion.
All set on that, Glenn?
And I guess further, just based off of the information that he provided us being correct.
Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Welcome to Kingston and welcome to your business.
Thank you.
And as long as we're going through this, there's just one more thing of correspondence, we might as well just take care of it before we get into our public hearing tonight. And that would be an email from Celine Costa. If you remember, she came in front of our board a couple of years ago with a food truck. She wanted to locate here in town. And we spent a long time talking about that and talking about whether or not we were going to do an ordinance for food trucks and all kinds of things. And her email says, "Hope you're all well. A few years ago, we put in a request to set our food truck up in Kingston. After 3 years on the road, we have found a home at Tideland Public House in Durham, New Hampshire, New Hampshire's first year-round food truck park. I think it would be really cool for some of the planning board members and people from town to take a look at what's going on at the old Durham Town Hall. Just wanted to provide an update for our business and also share with you what other towns are doing to bring in options for the community and ultimately tax dollars. Up Street is open Wednesday to Sunday from 12 to 8 p.m. and we'd love to see you there. Thanks. Celine Costa. It
Has
was nice
anybody
to have an
been there?
update.
Has anybody been to that?
No, have you?
Oh my gosh, it is beautiful.
Really?
Yes.
Should
It
we
is gonna
schedule a
be.
sidewalk?
We should schedule a sidewalk.
And we
Good
can get
idea.
lunch there.
Second.
The guy bought it and renovated the building inside and is serving food inside. Actually, he's serving drinks and food inside. But then there's all these food trucks that are parked around. And it's just crazy. I was talking to Celine about it, and she said, in a weekend, they served 1,000 dinners. They did.
Wow.
It's just crazy. But it's really worth going to see.
This is in Durham.
We will
The
definitely
old
take that up.
Durham Town Hall.
Yeah, the old Durham Town.
Not the one down near the river.
It's on 108 as you're coming
Yeah.
into Durham on the right.
How do they have that much space?
It used to be on the right, the town hall used to be on the right side, it's on the left now.
Yeah, this is the old town.
It's that big,
It's a big, tall,
Yeah.
old building, and he spent a lot of money renovating the inside, putting fire suppression in, all kinds of things, but he's got them packed in there. There isn't much parking for cars in the parking lot, but really worth going to look at.
I'll have to take that in.
Eric?
Sounds good.
Lynn, can I steal that email from you later?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna pass that to you. Give it to you right now, because I don't forget. Okay. So, I think we'll begin our public hearing. Keep looking at the clock and seeing that it's so far off.
7-11.
7-11. So if, let me see. Barry, you want to join us and give us a good presentation?
Endeavor to entertain. Good evening, my name is Barry Geyer. I'm with Jones Beach Engineers here for the applicant. This project is located at 255 Route 125, and it's map R40, lot 12. Before we get too deep, I think maybe we should look at the waiver request, because we are requesting a waiver to Article 904.4 of the site plan regulations that requires a preliminary review. So I don't know if we should take up that first, or if you would like me to present my presentation.
Certainly discuss the waiver. The plans are complete.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, there are things missing, but they're substantially complete for the board to be able to invoke jurisdiction.
Okay.
So you might want to do that first.
Any further discussion? We have a motion to grant the waiver request for mandatory preliminary review.
Could we invoke jurisdiction before we do the waiver?
Oh, we have to go, before we can do the mandatory,
I'm the neighbor that abuts this ice skating rink, and I will get a little more information as to noise, private, public, who's coming, who's going.
okay.
That will all
So
get covered
let me
in
tell you
the
our
discussion.
procedure. I'm sorry, I should have given our procedure. So the first thing we do is we hear from the applicant. Then we ask questions, we look at our report. We're really eager to hear everything you have to say. And that's fine, you can ask questions at that time. Okay? That's the procedure.
Well, I'm just here to say we're ready to any changes, whatever, so before you.
Oh, no, we're far from voting on this.
They're voting on a very little piece of it.
Do we have any further discussion on the mandatory review waiver? Oh, no, we need to do it in both jurisdictions.
Make a motion to invoke jurisdiction.
Okay, do we have a second? Steve Padfield seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of invoking jurisdiction?
Aye.
And that is unanimous. Okay. Barry?
Now you
Oh,
can
no,
consider the waiver.
now we need to do the waiver. Okay. A motion to grant the waiver?
mandatory review.
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we waive mandatory preliminary review Article 904, based off the applicant's proposed project is minor in the scope that it's just construction of a barn, and site plan review is required due to the commercial use allowed on the property.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Steve Padfield, second. Any further discussion on the waiver of the mandatory preliminary review? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous. Okay.
Thank you all very much. This property is just under an acre in the commercial 2 zone, the C2 zone. The existing property contains a single-family home with an existing garage that was previously used as an auto repair business. The property was previously granted a variance to allow an owner-occupied business at this location. The intent of the project is to construct a wood frame barn with a footprint of just over 2,000 acres for use as a skating rink. This intent of the skating rink is for private use, but they also want to be able to do small, like skating lessons there as well. So it's not like it's going to be open to the public for, you know, come and free skate or large events, but they do want to be able to do skating lessons at the same location. Roof drains are directed to a bioretention basin located in the northeast corner of the property. The building is maintained 50 feet from the property lines. The lot is limited to 35% coverage by zoning, with the ability to go to 60% with storm water recharge. The existing site has 37% coverage, and the proposed site is 41% coverage. And we do include infiltration for the proposed building. We have received comment letter from both the town planner and the town engineer. And with that, I'll take any questions the board has.
Okay, so the first thing we need to do is hear the comments from our town planner and our town engineer. So Dennis, would you mind starting this evening?
Sure. All right, so I got copies of the plan. It was dated May 30th. The drainage analysis also, and comments are as follows. The bio-retention basin has been designed based on the estimated seasonal water table, elevation of 135. I would recommend soil testing be provided to verify this estimate. Number 2, the finished floor of the new building is proposed to be at elevation 139. The grade outside the building will be less than 139. The bottom of the bioretention basin is 138. With these grades, I presume the roof drain will need to be above grade, different than the details shown. Also, the peak elevation of a 50-year storm event is estimated to be at 139.29, which is above the finished floor. Perhaps with test data, the basin can be lowered, the peak elevation can be lower than the floor, and the drain can be subsurface. Number 3, the proposed basin outlet structure has an outlet elevation of 137.75, lower than the original grade of 138 that is at that location. It also appears that if there's no grade lower than 138 on the site, I recommend adjusting all grades accordingly. Number 4, in this case, I do not believe a 3-foot sump is needed in the outlet structure. 5, Article 904 G15, the use hours and hours of operation, number of employees should be noted in the plan. G25 is the proposed provide elevation view of the building. G27, is there an access easement to this lot from Route 125? That's with the driveway shown coming in off Route 125. It's right on the property line, so I don't know if there's an easement for that. G28, currently the existing sanitary waste disposal system is within the town and state well-protected radius. The proposed use of the site would be limited because of lot size. I would recommend a new wastewater disposal system, new sanitary waste disposal system be designed and be assured that the size and the placement meet current requirements. G29, type and location of the solid waste disposal. G32, type and extent and location of existing and proposed landscaping. G33, provide detail of the sign. G34, show lighting scheme to comply with Article 302. 904, 11, and 12, bonding is required for engineering inspections of on-site improvements. 907, 3A3, a performance guarantee amount is required to finalize prior to approval. 907, 4A, the performance guarantee must be in place prior to construction of the site. And 908, 16, 6A, the operation and maintenance procedures for stormwater management systems must be recorded. My comments.
Thank you.
You've got a copy.
Glenn, do we have your comments?
Sure. So I have that, this is, a project to construct a 2,000 square foot barn for an ice skating rink. This is the first public hearing for this proposal, so the board should consider invoking jurisdiction, which you've already done. The following are my comments, upon reviewing the plan entitled Proposed Site Plan, Tax Map R40, Lot 12, New Hampshire, Route 125, Kingston, New Hampshire. The applicant has requested a waiver of the mandatory preliminary review requirement. If the waiver is granted, it needs to be noted on the final plan. The proposal is located in the Aquifer Protection District, and this should be indicated in Note 2, Sheet C2. A conditional use permit is required because the property is located in the Aquifer Protection District and is a commercial activity is being proposed. This only applies if the ice skating rink is open to the public. In the C2 zone, maximum impervious coverage is 35%. In the Aquifer Protection District, Zone B, which is the zone that this is located in, it is 25%. In both instances, this can be increased to 60% with appropriate on-site stormwater management that encourages stormwater infiltration. The board needs to determine if the vegetated buffer on the north and east sides of the proposed barn meet the requirements of Article C2 at Section 109(8)(d)(2). The use, hours of operation, number of employees must be detailed on the plan. The first floor elevation of all buildings must be provided. An elevation drawing of the proposed barn must be provided. The well and septic system are closer than allowed by town and state standards. This is an existing situation. Is a dumpster proposed for the site? If yes, it must be detailed on the plan and screened. Is a new sign proposed? Because there is one located on the plan. It says it's an old broken sign. And so I'm just wondering if that is going to be the location of a new sign. Is the barn to have exterior lighting? This should be detailed on the plan and needs to be dark sky compliant. If the anticipated use for this barn is an ice skating rink, will it be open to the public? Parking for the public would need to be detailed on the site plan. All easements on the property need to be detailed on the plan. There is a utility easement shown on the plan and described in Note 13 on Sheet C1. Is there an easement that details the access to the site? If there is, this should be detailed on the site plan as well. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Glenn.
And so from my perspective, the board needs to understand what the degree of public use of this ice skating rink would be, because all those other sort of standard site plan requirements are there to ensure the safety when public is invited onto a site. And so we need to have a good understanding of the kind of activity that's going to take place.
Yeah, can I ask a question? So when you indicate that it's for private use, but then private lessons, are those private, there's going to be private group lessons, or one individual at a time, or groups of people?
I have 3 boys that play hockey.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to do a little side project for them.
So this is Terry Connor, he's the applicant or the applicant's representative.
So this rink I have in Amherst, New Hampshire, and it's basically a portable rink. So it's not a fixed fixture by any means. As a matter of fact, just sitting over there now. The only reason I'm saying, not really commercial, but I don't want to, I'm not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. If my son wants to go out there and train a kid for an hour, that's basically really small. I think this sheet of ice is 30 by 60, something like that. Yeah. So it basically be one-on-one. Father comes in with his kid, or mother drops him off for an hour, comes back, picks him up. There's not going to be games.
Well, except for the kids, you know, his sons and their friends.
My kids will be out there.
That's more private use, but when you're talking about, you know.
They have a few buddies over, there's 6 kids out there, I mean, that's.
But the classes will be very limited, or the instructions.
I guess a good question would be, would that fall under home occupation? In other words, if you had a rink, and there would be no question about your kids and their friends coming over and playing hockey on it, whatever. But if just giving the private lessons might be considered home occupation, it wasn't visible to others, so, if there was no sign, I think Glenn asked the question about the sign.
There's not gonna be a sign. The
Okay.
sign's gonna stay out there for the shop, but I'm planning on putting the shop back in.
Okay, and so that was what the variance was for? Was the,
Originally, that was the variance for the
was
home occupied business.
business? Well, right, but, why would it require variance if it was in the commercial zone? Because of it being residential also, or, I mean, it's, the garage would be, I guess, permitted in the C2 zone, unless it, you know, maybe the garage preceded the zoning classification, which is quite possible.
I'm not sure if it's an approved use in the zone.
It may not be approved use, and that's maybe why.
This
the
has to be an
variance-
approved use, that's all. It's not a home occupation, it's just an approved use.
Right, yeah, when you say home, occupied, but, if the site is then commercial because it's got an approved commercial garage in there, then all the things that, Dennis mentioned about the, you know, the requirements for commercial, site plan would apply. This particular application use might not require site plan review because it might qualify as a home occupation because it's not visible. Just as we talked about before. So that's, I guess what I'm trying to clarify is whether the lot is commercial, right now, combined residential, commercial, is the current use.
I kind of see your, we had the same discussions with Mr. Greenwood about, if we were actually required to come in for one thing, because as you said, you can build a barn on your property as long as you don't get a building permit. But because he potentially wants to have a business back in the garage at some point, that we wanted to keep the overall site as a commercial site because of the garage. And so we had to come in here, come to the board for approval of the barn.
Right, okay, so,
Yeah,
so
I think if the garage wasn't there and there was no intention of running that commercially, I think it would
Then
fall
this
into
would be
that.
moved.
But I think because it's that blended thing and they plan on using that commercially,
Right.
that I think no matter what, we can't just use the
So-
barn and the ice skating portion as a home occupied business.
right, so what's happened is that the residence, the house we live is considered a pre-existing non-conforming use on a commercial property. And is allowed to stay as a residence. And I guess this is kind of in the area of the rink being built. If it's just a barn and you have a portable rink that you put in it, you know, it could be considered as an expansion, which is also allowed, pre-existing, expansion to a pre-existing residential use. But I guess that's what the board has to decide, is whether this is considered part of the commercial use of the land because it's going to be, unless it's not a in-home occupation, the license can't be because you're constructing a big facility. So I guess
The
we
whole
need some
thing
advice
is-
on how
The whole thing is very convoluted because of the
commercial use.
language of C2,
Yeah,
not advocating for residential use.
right.
But this is existing, non-conforming residential use. And then the continuation of a use that used to be allowed, but now is actually only allowed through special exception, for the auto repair place.
Yeah.
And it's no longer grandfathered, right?
Which is no longer grandfathered because it's been closed for a while.
Right.
And then the aspect of using the ice skating rink in some commercial fashion.
Yeah.
It all becomes very convoluted.
So just a couple of questions about the ice rink. Will there be sanitary facilities there?
I
No bathrooms? Okay.
haven't even crossed that.
And they will be charging for lessons, of course, so then it becomes a business.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if it's gonna get this complicated, I'm just gonna put the ice rink in for my kids and not do any business on it.
Just,
And get the garage back up.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like I'm gonna lose my grandfathership for that.
The garage has not been used for 2 years, has it?
Year and a half.
Oh,
Yeah.
you need to be very, you need to be very clear when the activity ceased, because if it ceases for 2 years, it no longer is grandfathered.
So what happens when I can't get it back in there?
Well, then you need to get a special exception, because that's the way auto vehicle
But isn't the
repair
variance
can
that was
happen.
granted go with the property which was granted so that they could have a home business?
Except variances no longer last forever. Because of the change to variance standards in 2014.
But the variance expires
If
for
you
this
don't use it,
property?
if you don't use it.
So you need
that's
to
why
start your
if it-
business
if you're
within
at,
2 years.
if you're nearing that 2-year point, you need to take steps to reinstitute the garage use.
Or come back in for a variance?
Or come back, it's actually a special
Special-
exception
At the ZBA?
at the ZBA. Correct.
We can discuss that.
So it's cloudy. This is why I had no interest in telling Barry, yeah, just go ahead and do this. Because there are too many layers sitting on this property, to not have some interaction with the planning board.
And we need to have this discussion, because everybody needs to be clear on exactly what is permitted and why it's permitted, which is why we need
That's
to,
why I'm here, because when I came to get a permit, nobody in this town knew.
what to do.
No, and I made the mistake of saying ice rink, which I shouldn't, because it's portable.
Yeah, it's not a
I can move
permit.
it anywhere, it's not a fixed fixture. I just wanna put up a barn.
Never heard of that, that's a cool thing. Okay, any further questions?
So I don't know enough about ice rinks, as it turns out. How is the ice maintained?
Glycol chiller.
Okay.
Just like an air conditioner, but it runs glycol through the pipes underneath the ice.
And is glycol a byproduct of?
Self-contained.
It's like a refrigerator,
Okay,
so that there's nothing that's discharged or
All
self-destruct.
self-contained unit.
and it's not buried?
No.
And it's usable all 12 months of the year, which you could. Must be expensive in the summertime.
A little bit.
Any other questions from anyone? Okay. Seeing no questions, I think it's time to open it for public comment. So this is when the public gets to come.
How many bathrooms are gonna be in there? One bathroom. I know the lot, because I've been there for 22 years.
Your name, sir?
Gary Avery.
Can you spell your
My
last
wife
name?
Kathy.
Welcome.
Can you spell your last name?
Avery.
Thank you.
And you live in the building that's sort of behind it?
Oh, no,
Right
we live
beside
right
it.
beside it. We're in a little yellow ring right beside it.
Oh, okay. Okay,
No, sir.
I know where you are.
How many feet is this building gonna be from the property line?
It looks like about 60 feet.
It's 50,
Well, there's a 50-foot setback to it.
because it's right at the setback line, right?
One corner of it looks like it's right next to the 50-foot setback.
Right. And the tree line stays, 50-foot tree line between this building.
There's
and
no
your
50-foot tree line between them and ours. He just cut down 10 feet of trees. He hooked the bathroom and the garage to the house septic system, which Mark said he could never do that because you guys wouldn't allow him. They hooked the water up to it.
Excuse me?
Another
They
thing.
don't have the property.
That's beside the point. In other words, he's gonna have extra people in there. The system can't handle it. It's backed up into the house a couple of times over the years. How are they gonna chill this? Gotta have a chiller or some type of system to keep the place cool, right? how much noise is that gonna give us? That's my problem. It's bad enough with the highway that we live on. And we bought the place, granted, traffic's been a lot more.
We've been here since 2001.
He's got a stock car over there, they go over and they make a bunch of noise with that, Mark not do that. They race the engines up and stuff. It happens, not all the time, but enough to make it annoying. And I wanna know how much noise is gonna come off of this building, and what is it gonna affect? I'm a ham radio operator, I don't need a building next to me that I'm gonna fight with constantly to be able to talk on my radios. And it don't take much to knock them out. I've had the electric company over there a few times, they've got things straightened out with Mark and stuff, but I wanna know what this is all gonna do to us, and what's it gonna do to my property down. Another building right next door.
Okay.
Yeah, as it is, when we had the trees right across the street, and you allowed that storage place to go in. And then they took down all those trees, and they were supposed to leave a big buffer there. And now, what do I get?
You're getting the same
all
thing
my
besides.
trees are gone, and I get light shining through my house constantly, since that storage place is gone. Because I guess the whole thing needs to be lit up like it's in the daytime. Now, I know Deb, who helps run the place, they trimmed the lights down a little bit. But I'm sorry, it still sucks, especially what I pay for taxes. So all those trees and that nice darkness, we learned to live with the road. Yeah, you can't help that. But then they turned around and when you said they were supposed to leave a buffer and they didn't. That's why we lost the power twice, because you got a nice little windstorm. Twice it took the trees down, twice it took the power lines down. Because they didn't leave that buffer. And all the town did is give them a little fine. You paid a fine, everything's okay, you got no buffer, whatever. It's like
No, the town has actually prevented them from building the second phase because they haven't complied with that.
I understand that too.
Thank God.
But, you know, you got that. I know other people in town that, what I pay for taxes and what they pay for taxes, it's the same goddamn thing. However, they live on a nice little cul-de-sac in the bushes, you know, they don't have to listen to the traffic. And those freaking rumble strips, when they put those rumble strips in, you ever notice they didn't put them in front of businesses? They put them in front of the residents. But taxes didn't go down on that. My husband's a Vietnam vet. Do you know how many times he flew out of bed when they first put those things in there? Sounds like a freaking machine gun.
Yeah, it does.
And nothing, you know, hey, we're sorry we did this. Maybe we can take a couple dollars off your taxes. Nope, we still want that money. And that's what it's all about, it seems sometimes. It's all just about the money. How much can you get? I've seen how much the town has grown. I've seen what they've done in the town.
And that property's commercial and we're residential. That's the other thing.
I just want to know the noise, okay? I know what I listen to for noise already. I live next door to Mark for almost 20 years, okay? I know what to deal with and not to deal with. The racing in the car every now and then, that's irrelevant. Mark used to do it as well. That comes with moving next door to a garage, I guess. But now this ice skating rink, that's 20,000 square feet? 2,000 square feet.
What's the actual
My
size of
home
the
is
building?
30 by 60.
30 by 60?
Oh,
That's bigger than my house.
My house is 1,200 square feet. So am I gonna have to look at this big gigantic building? I know the sun don't make no difference to you guys, but the sun comes up in my backyard and goes across that way. In the wintertime, it's over this side a little bit. That's gonna block all that little bit of sun that comes through there and helps melt my driveway and make it safe, especially when I'm trying to pull out onto 125. You ever try pulling out of here all the time? It's crazy. Sometimes you just have to hold the wheel and go. What I would like to see is that speed limit, and I know it's a state, and I've called the state before, where they go up to 55 miles an hour. I'd like to really see that drop down to 45. Because the minute people hit that 55 zone, they just want to pass. you know, and we've had a fatality out front already. And it's just still, my taxes are still the same. When we turned around and had our land, we, surveyed. We were told that it was 2 acres, okay? So that's what we got taxed on for, what, 6, 7 years? Yeah. Now, when Mark had to do it, you guys wanted Mark to survey his, so Mark surveyed his. Then the guy behind Mark decided, well, if Mark's gonna do it, I'm gonna survey mine. And then Connie turned around and Connie wanted to survey his, so he did. Then comes to find out, we get like, what? 1 3/4. Yeah, I understand that. My point is, when I called the town hall, I was paying property taxes for more property than I actually had. And when it comes to the point and I brought it to the town's attention, I asked them what they can do for me. Oh, we can't do nothing. Okay. I don't mind paying my property taxes, but I'm getting a little bit tired of listening to all the noise. And then now, this big building that's bigger than my house wants to go up. My question is, I guess, how come he didn't put it in his own backyard?
No, you don't live there.
But now, this is what I wanna know, more noise, refrigeration. Something's gonna be humming, what, constantly? Because it's all year long. There's no way to silence it. And then again, here we go with some more lights. Now in residential, that place has been residential, I've been there since 2001. And we've always been residential. And it's like, you still want my taxes, but you wanna keep taking and taking and taking. So what's up with the lights? That's what I wanna know. How bright is this gonna be? Am I gonna have lights shining through my dining room now? Like I have through my living room? No matter what I get, those lights on that storage center are like. So that's kinda it. Picture it in your own backyard. That's my question. I see a lot of you guys. I know where you live. I live in Maryland town. And my question is, would you like it in your backyard? What about the noise? And his kids are not little kids. They're young men, are they not?
And look like professional
They
hockey
sound-
players to me.
You need to address your comments to the board.
Okay, then, I listened to him talk about his kids. My kid's 42 years old. So they're not little kids, like you would think, a bunch of little kids going to play, whatever. They're basically young adults. So how many friends, how much noise? Is it gonna be music playing? Am I gonna have to listen to that? Am I ever gonna get any peace again? That's my question.
Thank you very much for your comments. I'd just like to clarify one thing. This board has no jurisdiction over Route 125 or anything that happens on 125 or rumble strips or anything that has nothing to do with us. And we also have no jurisdiction over taxes. But we do have jurisdiction over the property that will be changed next door. Okay. Thank you very much for your comments. And we'll see if we get some answers to your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further public comment, we will close public comment. Okay. So Barry, I think you heard some of the concerns of the neighborhood. And if you could address those, that would be great. I think their major concerns were noise and possible music, and the equipment that's going to cool the ice rink, the refrigeration system. They also had major concerns about lighting, and I think that was primary concerns that would affect this particular application.
Well, I can guarantee our lights won't be as bad as across the street, but yes, we will address that. I guess I had a couple questions. Conditional use permit, do we need that for what we have described?
The language is vague. It says, so So it's a conditional use permit, and it says the following uses, if allowed in the underlying zoning district, are permitted only after a conditional use permit is granted by the Kingston Planning Board. Industrial and commercial uses not otherwise prohibited in section 2014 of this article. And this is not a prohibited use. So that means that this conditional use permit does apply, and the board would have to, and I'm finding this under section G, conditional uses, on page 201-8 of the ordinance. And so the direction from the ordinance is that the planning board may grant a conditional use permit for those uses listed above only after written findings of fact are made that all of the following conditions are met. A, the proposed use will not detrimentally affect the quality of the groundwater contained in the aquifer by directly contributing to pollution or by increasing the long-term susceptibility of the aquifer to potential pollutants. B, the proposed use will not cause a significant reduction in the long-term volume of water contained in the aquifer or in the storage capacity of the aquifer. C, the proposed use will discharge no wastewater on the site other than that typically discharged by domestic wastewater disposal systems and will not involve on-site storage or disposal of toxic or hazardous wastes as herein defined. D, the proposed use complies with all other applicable sections of this article. And E, a hydrogeologic study shall be submitted for uses whose septic system is designed for more than 2,400 gallons per day in Zone A, and the study shall be submitted for any septic system designed for more than 2,000 gallons per day, which does not apply for this property. So those would be, it's basically the first four, A through D, that the board would have to discuss.
The existing special exception, is that for home occupancy or is that for the automotive service? It's for the automotive
They
service.
have a variance for the automotive service.
I believe that's correct.
So it has nothing to do with home occupancy.
Correct.
I believe that one is grandfathered, the use, but then they tapped on the automotive.
Specifically because of the aquifer protection.
It's been a while since that variance took place, so I can't really answer.
Yeah, look, it should be in the property file.
It would be in the property file, I would
It
say.
should say specifically what the variance was granted.
Well, because otherwise it would be an approved use, correct?
Well, it does say that the prefab garage was built in 1998.
Oh, so that's post
That's post.
zoning, so it's definitely not grandfathered.
Well, if we need to, it would probably make sense to vote on conditional use to err with caution rather than err without. I mean, it makes sense to say, to vote on a conditional use permit rather than not vote that it's like food and have issues.
And which section were you reading, the conditional use permit?
It's found in section G, conditional uses in the Aquifer Protection Ordinance.
You wanna look on page 201-10?
There's the uses.
I mean, it's a business use that has to do with recreation, which is allowed in many of our other ordinances.
Right, it really isn't a use that on its face seems to have any detrimental impact on the aquifer zone beneath the site.
So not to belabor this, I guess my question would just be again about the glycol and if that's being stored on site, which is a hazardous chemical. It would seem to me that C is a question still.
They don't, it's within a system on site.
That would be almost like saying you can't have a refrigerator in your house.
I understand, I'm just reading it as it doesn't involve on-site storage or disposal of toxic or hazardous wastes, which I guess you're not storing a hazardous waste, but a toxic substance potentially.
But you're not storing it if it's part of a process on site. I
It's the
think
same
this
thing
is,
I use in my brewing system.
I think that this is, this section is geared to those uses that might,
Yeah,
you know,
I
might be an
think
industrial
storage would
use.
imply that, for example, if they needed, if they had a leak in the system, they would buy, you know, big, units of refrigerant, that like all to put in and recharge the system, then they would be, might be storing that on site, but,
If it's all
they would
self-contained.
probably have to fix the system, because I would get rather expensive. Yeah, I don't think that qualifies as storage, I think, it's obviously a lot bigger than a refrigerator, you know, or air conditioning kind of
It's probably
system.
gonna give you some data on that, on the system itself, so maybe they'll talk a little bit about what quantity you're dealing with. I mean, like you said, if it's a freezer size quantity versus a industrial size quantity, like you do.
I think the difference is that they're having a system that's charged. It's, if they were a business that went out and charged these systems and
was
stored
storing-
chemical
Right,
there,
storing
that
glycol
that
for
would
that
be a
purpose.
problem, but if they have a system that's just self-contained and charged, it's like, you know, having a bunch of mini split systems or air conditioners that are all charged within your home. I mean, but just bigger.
So we have two issues, as, one's the aquifer protection zone, and we can, discuss a conditional use permit for that. The other is the C2 zone. And the question that we brought up earlier on is, if this is we have to decide if it's commercial use or not, and you're saying would be proposing it as commercial use so that we don't run into some problems later. In that case, you need,
We could do the special exception for the, permitted use, or the not permitted or prohibited use. So we do have the two that we need to look at.
yeah, that would be a special exception. ZBA.
Just to answer the questions that they had, noise.
Okay, I'll be both. I think, to be honest with you, I think you're gonna be happy with what you're gonna have. You're gonna have all the privacy in the world. You're not gonna hear it. So when my rink was in Amherst,
Yep.
I put in a 55+ community. The rink literally was from here to that curtain, there was 5 units.
I mean,
You knew the kids were in there.
I think they're more concerned about a compressor.
No, that's,
Rapid.
you don't even hear it. It's like a loud English. And then the building being it's gonna keep all the noise from the shop. They're gonna put the other shop back. You're gonna have coming and going. I do things right. I'm not gonna screw it over or anything. I wanna keep the property.
Excuse me, whoop.
If he's not paying the microphone, we can't.
Okay, so just to address it, they'll hear you when you
You
talk.
think about, I took down 11 trees, okay? They were gonna come down anyway, they're tall pines. Anyways.
But noise.
Look at the property line, okay? You're gonna have a
Yeah.
60-foot building across the property line. They're still gonna have their 50 feet.
Right.
To their property line. They're not gonna see anything that goes on over there at all. It's gonna be like a wall.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, they're concerned, the noise, and to me, that would be compressor, loud, bang,
Compressor's gonna be on this side.
I mean,
I can take them over and show it to them, it's half the size of that table.
and then the lighting.
There won't be any
You
lights on
don't
that
need
side.
any lighting going that way.
None, zero.
No, well, that's the backside of the building.
Right.
That they're concerned about, and we're not proposing any lighting on the interior for the new, barn, because it's not a commercial use, you know?
And you're not gonna be running lights all night like the nightmare across the street.
Absolutely not.
There won't even be any parking out back there.
How tall is the building?
I'm hoping at 12 feet. Okay. 12 feet, trusses will stand on top of it. Windows. They're gonna be small. Just like skylights along the perimeter and the soffit. But otherwise, the parts would go through. It's just basically like. I had the rink in Amherst for 15 years and I never had an issue with anybody complaining about noise. Like I said, I put the 55 plus development in. Neighbors never even knew it was out there.
And listen, people's concerns, their emotions,
I get it.
when they affect them, you got, and it's tough, there's always the balance, cause
She
we,
said
you
she
know.
wanted to come over to talk to me,
Yeah.
but I'm never around, and I'm not. I'm
Because,
busy.
you know, at the end, our job is to rule on what is the townspeople have voted for, whether it be through ordinance,
Yeah.
regulations, and sometimes a lot of the things that we don't necessarily like are not subjective into our control. It's, does it meet the documented ordinance, whether it be for sound or light? And I know there's been ongoing problems with that property across the street. We've had multiple code enforcement officers involved, and, you know, people claim that, well, technically, you know, your ordinance says it just has to be dark sky compliant, and if that fixture is rated as dark sky compliant, doesn't mean it actually works right. So there's work that has to be done with things like that, and so we're trying to battle through those. But, you know, listen, it's tough.
No, I get it, totally.
There's only two things people don't like, and that's the way things are and change.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, they put up a big 60-foot wide building, they're not gonna see anything that goes on over there, they're gonna have more privacy than ever.
Before we get into the conditional use thing, one of the questions that you brought up, Glenn, was the, and actually both of you did, Dennis did too, the access from 125, and it's not shown on here, and I'm wondering where is the current driveway for you?
What the driveway shows is coming off the,
It's over the right-hand side.
Where it says
The
15
southern
foot
side
HDPE
on-
covered?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep,
And those dotted lines are, okay, so that's the current.
that's the access, and so it looks like it would, when it comes off of 125, it looks like it comes off entirely on the abutter's property.
Well, I think part of it is on the subject property, and part of it is, I agree, on the abutting property. We're looking into the, we got your comments today, we're looking into if there's an access, if there is an access that shows on the highway maps. But when the granting and taking and all that occurred, we have to find whatever document that actually labeled how this was accessed. But we know they do have an access.
There is a document that labels that.
Yes.
If there is.
Well, we're looking for it, we're not 100% sure, but we do have the highway maps that show that there was access to this property when they did the taking.
So I sold the property way off to the right-hand side, if you face that, and we needed that for the sale of that.
I was gonna say, it's probably, is it in the property file from with Allied Clearwater?
Yeah, it's either in that property file or it's in the property file for magazines before it was sold to Kingston Crossings.
Doesn't that also serve Cardi Lex's old house out back?
Yep.
There's 3 properties off that one
Yep.
entry.
Because I know we found it when we were selling it to Allied Clearwater. And it had to do with the right-of-way that goes in front of Allied Clearwater to Kingston Crossings. So it actually had four properties that were accessed through that right-of-way. So I do know it exists with its full, because I've seen it. Okay. So we've addressed noise, we've addressed lighting.
Can I just clarify, I think both of you say a special exception needed for the C2 zone?
Because it's not a permitted or prohibited use in C2.
Well, that's why I've been
But
so adamant about the commercial
It
use.
is?
Yeah,
Under K, it says commercial recreational activities.
Oh, okay.
Wait a second, okay.
I missed
Go
it.
back.
It's in B, for some reason, in B, so under permitted uses, 109.5, and that's C2 zone, it says recreational facilities. And then in K below, it says commercial recreational
Commercial
activities.
recreational
So either way.
activities. Yeah.
So
Oh,
either way,
thank
it seems to me
Oh,
that
that's good.
covers how this would be used, so there would be no additional ZBA action for the use.
Good, yes.
Great, that takes care of that one.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay,
Thank you.
I didn't read far enough.
Yeah, but retail stores.
I don't understand why, I don't know what we were saying with recreational facilities in a commercial zone.
Right.
If we weren't thinking they were gonna be commercial.
Right,
But we qualify it further down and say commercial recreational uses, so whatever. It seems to be covered.
Yeah.
so we're basically with the conditional use permit.
Correct. That's
So,
the
yeah, we're on
only,
this.
that's the only zoning requirement I see
Okay,
that would come out of this.
Yeah.
And then there's other things that are missing, like the elevations and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
From both of your reports.
Any other board comments from fire department or anything, police, or anything? Nobody?
I didn't see any other.
Nothing came in.
The fire department will probably have the usual, meets and FTA standards, just probably sprinkled, if
I
it's gonna
wouldn't
be
think it'd be
commercial.
sprinkled.
It's not for commercial?
It's not that big,
Yeah, okay.
but they'd have to
Maybe some-
meet the standards.
That's true, you don't have to stand.
It's a number of square footage. That's all.
And it is 2,000 square feet, correct? Because I thought I heard 2,000
2004.
acres, which is totally different.
Yeah, at
story.
one point Barry said 2,000 acres, and Steve about slipped out of his chair, so, but we knew that you didn't mean that. We knew you didn't mean that.
Yeah, I think it's 2,004 square feet total.
Does that include the jet out
Yeah,
to the south side?
Correct.
Would we want parking designated on this anywhere?
I mean, if the commercial activity is as being proposed, that it's one-on-one private lessons, I think that there's adequate parking on the site
Garage
to
site.
cover that.
So, this is your time in front of the planning board. You don't have to come back. If they might do any sort of group lesson or something like that, they might want to adjust the plan at this point to accommodate for something like that. Just saying.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Or renting it to commercial, I mean,
It's too small an area. I mean, a standard size rink, when this came forward, I kind of looked it up and said, how big is it,
Yeah, I
like
know.
a regular ice rink, and there's 17,000 square feet versus this is 2,000?
No, I meant the ice area, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the ice area is 17,000 versus 2,000, so it just seemed to me that,
Ice area is 17,000 ring.
that's what it
It's
said.
not 35 by 60.
That's what my Google said.
A rink, not a rink facility, that's,
180 by 80.
it's what is it?
Basically 180 by 80. 180 feet long.
Okay.
Hockey rink.
Yeah.
Oh, feet, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. I think Olympic size is 200 feet, right? Yeah. It's small.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
If an Olympic rink is 200 feet by 80 feet, that's 16,000 square feet, which is very close to what you just said.
Spot on.
Yeah.
And I was just quoting Google.
I agree, because that's almost half an acre, that seems humongous.
But not 2,000 acres.
Not that large.
Okay. What's your pleasure, people?
Tackle the conditional use.
Okay.
We've got to go line by line, right?
Yes, we do. That's your specialty.
But reading is my specialty, as it turns out.
Okay, make a motion that the planning board grant the conditional use. Top of page 201-10.
Yeah, I'm right there. So the planning board may grant a conditional use permit for those uses listed above only after written findings of fact are made that all of the following conditions are met. A, the proposed use will not detrimentally affect the quality of the groundwater contained in the aquifer by directly contributing to pollution or by increasing the long-term susceptibility of the aquifer to potential pollutants.
Motion to that?
I will make a motion that the proposed use does not detrimentally affect the quality of the groundwater, based on what's been described today.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of item A? Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous.
B, the proposed use will not cause a significant reduction in the long-term volume of water contained in the aquifer or in the storage capacity of the aquifer. I will also make a motion that the proposed use will not cause a significant reduction as outlined in B based on what was described today.
Second.
Did you get the second one?
I did.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
C?
C, the proposed use will discharge no wastewater on site other than that typically discharged by domestic wastewater disposal systems and will not involve on-site storage or disposal of toxic or hazardous waste as herein defined. The motion that the proposed use will not discharge waste does not involve on-site storage or disposal of toxic or hazardous waste as discussed this evening.
Second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous.
D, the proposed use complies with all other applicable sections of this article, which I'm not gonna read.
I didn't find any other conflicts.
I'll make it a motion that the proposed use does in fact comply with all other.
And I think that should be conditional upon the infiltration system, because
Yeah.
one of the requirements is the coverage area, and 47% is greater than the 35% maximum permitted in agricultural protection zone B, except that it can go, as Glenn said, to 60% with infiltration systems. So I think this would be a conditional, conditional to that conditional approval.
So we would make that a condition of
That would have to be a
approval when we
condition,
review the
would be, that the town engineer decides that the system, the recharge of the aquifer will be sufficient to allow the coverage up to 60%.
I made the motion. Do I need to amend it? Or are we just waiting for a
I think it
second?
can be stated that you would.
Well, I would just say conditioned upon the fact that it meets the recharge,
An approved recharge.
yeah, recharge.
Right, so I'll amend the motion to reflect that, condition of approval, address, can I just reference the number in Glenn's letter? Item number 4 in the letter from Glenn Greenwood dated July 17th, 2023.
Second? Peter? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And E?
E, a hydrogeologic study shall be submitted for uses whose septic system is designed for more than 2,400 gallons per day. In Zone A, a study shall be submitted for any septic system designed for more than 2,000 gallons per day. And I will make a motion that this is not applicable to the proposal before us.
And
Do a second?
You said, well, before you, oh, that's right, we need a second, we can discuss it.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
And the only question I had is, well, you suggested a newly designed system, septic system, but it certainly wouldn't need to meet the 2,000 gallon limit, or 2,500.
Must have a good party there. I don't know if we're all invited.
Can you skate?
I used to.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that passes. Okay, so we have gone through the special exception. And we're back to the actual proposal, and we were still lacking a few items of information according to the town engineer and the town planner. How would you like to move forward?
Well, do we, there's a number of comments, do we want to see a cleaned up set of plans, with the, any comments from the engineer and the planner incorporated? Because I think this is one of those situations where I think that's easier than doing a 4-page conditional approval that then Glenn has to go and then have to go through and see if they've all been made or the chairman can sign off on it. And I don't think it would add any time to it, because.
We haven't got the elevations yet either.
Right, and that's just one of the,
Well, Mr. Guyer, you saw the comments from from both Glenn and Dennis.
Yeah, the only one I kind of had a question about was the septic system. Mr. Quintel suggests that we replace the existing septic system. It wasn't our intent to, unless it's failed. We can provide a design, a different design for it, but we're not putting bathrooms in the building, so it is what it is currently as far as the septic system is concerned. And I think the remainder of them, some of them, like the hours of operation of our employees, we discussed that, but I can address that formally, as well as like the dumpster and sign and some of those items that, you know, aren't applicable, but we discussed those, but we can address those formally in the letter.
And Dennis, I read your comment as just have a new design, or?
My concern, it was with the building going in there, not knowing what the use is, that people are gonna need to use the facility. So if they're only gonna use the house, again, it's not a problem until it fails, but Mike would make a suggestion, if you want, that at least show where a new leaching system could go on the site. Typically, it shows a 4,000 square foot area, but I don't think you need that big an area to show possibly where a septic system could go on the lot. And probably behind the barn, you know, because it has to meet the setback from the well. It's still gonna be limited to how much wastewater you can put on the site.
Yeah.
Maybe only 300 gallons a day, because you can't count the area of the protected zone around the well. So any replacement septic system is gonna be only a small amount of flow anyways.
No, but I agree, I think it's appropriate to have a design on file to show that.
That's certainly up to you, if you wanna have a new design in place, or you wanna just show where it can go.
Are there sanitary facilities in the garage? So there's a bathroom in there, and then you've got 2 or 3 bedroom house?
1 bathroom in the house, and it's a 3-bedroom house.
Right. So you're
There was a
more
bathroom in an apartment downstairs in the house, which we got it out of it, it's all gone. Because that was the issue with the town, I think there was a problem with there being a small apartment there or something like that, or whatever. And it was just been removed.
And we still don't have a lighting plan for.
Well, we don't propose to add lighting, so.
Okay, so there'll be no more lighting on the lot, okay. And any lighting that's in the building can't exceed the boundary line. Okay, people, what is your pleasure?
I guess I would ask how much time you need to make these adjustments and come up with a set of plans.
The next submittal date is in a week, right?
Yeah.
I think so, typically here.
Yeah, if you wanted to come to our first meeting, which is not a public hearing night, but we would extend to that, would be August 2nd, so that would mean the plans would need to be in by.
Basically a week from Thursday, I think.
The 27th, yeah, because they're just revised plans, so they need to be in by the 27th.
So the next actual public hearing though would
The
be,
next public hearing is the 15th of August.
yeah, can we shoot for that one? Because we have to dig a couple test pits for that.
Yeah, oh, that's true, yeah.
So I have to get the machine out there.
Okay. Good. So, everyone has the right direction. Do we want to, motion to continue? Peter Baker made a motion to continue until August 15th at 6:45 p.m.
With plans due by?
Then we generally say the week before, so.
Yeah, the 10th.
The 10th?
Yeah.
Of August.
Yeah.
Second?
Who made that motion? I'm sorry.
Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that is unanimous.
Do you want them to do a septic design or not? I guess that's what I didn't know if I heard that.
So you just wanna, your recommendation would at least show that it has the.
Well, at first I wanted to have a new design done, because
Yeah.
I thought that they would, with multiple people using the facility, they kind of need to go somewhere. If they're gonna go in the garage, use that, then it's up to them if they wanna tax that system. And if the system fails, they need to, at that point in time, have a new design done. And I think that at this point in time, we wanna at least know that a septic system
Yeah,
can go
I
on.
thought what was agreed was that they would show some location for a leach field
Yeah.
predicated upon the test pits that he's gonna have dug out there.
Okay.
There was gonna
And
be
if they can't do the full 4,000 square feet, they were gonna
No.
do one that was large enough for a designed septic system for
Based
3
on
bedrooms
at
and 2
least,
bathrooms.
maybe
Right.
a little bit bigger, right? At least,
Yeah, I think we're on board.
I just want to clarify that, for you, so you wouldn't
Good.
be misled.
Okay, so we want to tell our members of the public that we've not made any approvals or denials tonight, that this is being continued until August 15th. And this will probably be the 4th hearing of the evening, but others can be, as they were tonight, canceled or continued to other dates, so you probably want to be here around 7 o'clock.
Oh, we did grant a conditional use permit. But when you said we didn't make any approvals.
Oh, well, we approved a conditional use permit, but we made no approval of the overall plan. So we did two, we've actually voted on 2 things. We allowed them not to go through the preliminary review, and we also did vote on the special exception to allow such a facility to be over the aquifer. Okay? I think that's it. Thank you very much. Do we have any other business to come before the meeting?
I noticed recently there are a lot of signs, Mr. B's Roofing over at the intersection here, and there's a sun run, and all these signs popping up. As a, how do you get rid of it?
Pump state.
Usually Division 6.
Oh, there's state, state. Okay.
Yeah, it's a pump state.
They'll usually, the state will usually go out with pickup trucks and start picking them up. Handle them with a brush mower sometimes.
Okay, I just saw a bunch of them, it's like, you know what?
But, we're not required to have the state do that, in terms of, you still have the authority to enforce the sign ordinance, off-site sign, because it's a town ordinance. So.
Well, I can tell you right now, with the Public Works Department being down people and trying to maintain buildings and other things in town that are more critical, we're probably not going to direct them to pull resources to go pick up signs.
No, and usually it's I can see that,
Yeah.
Because, you would be directed, at least to follow. Yeah, I understand why, but there's some every once in a while, I see what Steve's saying, we get these waves where people see, okay, we're not enforcing that, and all of a sudden, like the banners, all over the place now, and yeah, all these commercial signs are going up, on intersections and lights in front of other businesses.
Anything else to come before the meeting?
Motion to adjourn?
I just wanted to announce that we will have the Historic District Commission at our next meeting, which is on August 2nd, to review some Historic District changes to the ordinance, or to review changes to the Historic District ordinance. And I think that's it for now.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Who
And we are
seconded it?
adjourned.